everybody. Welcome back to On the Line with Babsie. It's been a long time since we've done this, so let's give my mom a call and see what she's been up to. And we have a guest. Shannon Torrence will be with us today. Let's check it out. We haven't done this in a long time. So did you want to talk about any of your hobbies?
Oh, hobbies?
Yeah, going to the doctor and calling your doctors and going to the doctor some more.
Yes. Well, yes, my 3 doctors met, and I had a brain MRI CT. No, a nuclear medicine CT, and I am normal.
Wow.
which I don't know what normal means.
Yeah, I don't either when relating to Babsie.
I know. So I'll have to ask the neurologists what really defines normal.
Was
But
it in
anyway.
quotation marks?
No.
Normal?
No. He spoke it. He spoke it. And, I was invited by Johns Hopkins, by Dr. Mokhyber, to be in a study. Johns Hopkins is the research hospital, and he said your numbers were so good that would you like to participate in the study? But it would be doing the same as the test I had, and I said, I don't think so. But now I'm thinking more about, the details, more details about it.
What a waste of a normal brain. Oh, well, I had some MRIs too because of my migraines, and my results came back unremarkable, which is kind of insulting, but I can't.
No, that means normal.
Oh, well, they could have said that.
I know. Well, I've gotten unremarkable for other things. Yeah. But I thought, well, that's good because then
like
I
on
don't
your
have
first
to go
grade
back.
tests.
Yes.
Unremarkable. Repeat.
Well, yes, I had to repeat the first grade because I was so shy I didn't speak. But today, the teachers would, be very, very upset. The nuns just told your grandparents that, Barbara doesn't speak or anything, but I was so shy.
He said, oh, good.
My voice. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
So, honey, yes. So that was an exciting day to find out, but and he ruled out Parkinson's, which he had ruled out before, but he wanted to make sure. So
that's good. Well, so if your brain is so normal, how do you explain putting on your gown backwards every single time you go to the doctor?
No, well, I might have done that also, but my gastroenterologist had said put on the gown, and when he came in, he said, "Oh, that's the wrong end." I went top to bottom. I was supposed to be bottom to top, and so I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and we laughed, and he said, "I'll be back in a few minutes." I said, "Yes, thank you." Yes, I did get that wrong.
And he came back and said, oh, wrong again. A good thing I canceled my next appointment.
No. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, I was so embarrassed. Oh, God.
I'm
I
sure.
got you. Yes, yes. What
Well,
else is on the list?
there is no list. What else is
Oh, oh.
going on?
Well, I'm trying to think. I
Uh-oh.
was looking for a parking space, and this gentleman, well, and I use that loosely, was moving out of one. So I decided, since he's backing out, that means he's to my left. So I'll go to the right so that he can drive right out.
Hmm.
Well, he rolled down his window and he said, "You something BMW." I was trying to help him by getting out of the way. So, well, anyway. So he blamed it on the little car.
No, he was blaming it on you, but yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Hmm.
but he called the BMW something, and I thought that wasn't very nice. So, anyway,
uh,
um,
some people.
oh, gee,
Yeah, I
I,
guess that's about it in the past
I,
year. Exciting.
we had written down, or I had written down, but, some things that were strange. Yeah, I saw my hanger, um, the,
Oh.
little covering of the hanger at my doctor's office. It must have stuck to my sneaker. Maybe it was in the car. I don't know. But I thought, oh no, was I, carrying that throughout Johns Hopkins? And nobody said anything. But
Well,
anyway,
they
that's
were
not so
probably
great.
didn't know
Um,
your brain was normal and they should approach you about it.
yes, I
But
know.
yeah, at
Yes.
least you had the same shoes on,
Oh, yes,
not
yes. That
mismatched.
Yeah, uh that was a surprise when I went to the doctor with David for his appointment, and I got dressed. We had to go very, very early in the morning, and I didn't want to turn the light on in the apartment in New York. So I kind of got dressed in the dark, and Dave said, "Hurry, Mom, we've got to get a cab." And I said, "Yes, yes, I'm coming." And I slipped my shoes on, and we got in the cab and got to the doctor's office. And sitting in the waiting room, I just happened to look down, and I thought, "Oh," I said, "David, I have two different shoes on."
I'm
I
wearing a
couldn't
space boot and a
believe it.
ballet slipper. How did that happen?
Actually, they were both black. I take too many shoes with me, and they're just on the
Mhm.
floor. So I put my feet in, yes, but each one was black. But if you looked, you could see that I had two different. But I thought, well, we're coming out of a doctor's building. Maybe they thought I was being seen by somebody.
Oh, it
Yeah,
must
that's
be mental
terrible.
health.
Oh, yes,
Well, that's
yes.
interesting. You got the colors matched in the dark, but not the
Well,
actual
uh,
shape and
yeah,
style of shoe.
I
Okay, well,
know. I know. They were not too far off, but
right.
um, at yeah. But I did I tell you um the Wall Street
I don't know.
person that was known to be at the corner of Wall Street, a blonde lady that was begging for money. Now, this is
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and she was known to be on that corner, but I didn't know. And I was going to the subway
The one who
up at the
insulted
top.
your hair.
Yes.
Yes, we heard all about it. Okay, so there's
Oh,
nothing going
okay.
on. Let's
Let's.
call Shannon.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, call Shannon. I'd love to hear what she says.
Uh,
Did someone say call Shannon?
yes, we did. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, you
That was
have
our
a
cue.
lovely voice. I mean, a very
Yes.
handsome voice.
Yes, she does.
You now, do you do voiceovers too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much for
Yes.
asking.
Oh, you have a beautiful voice. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Well,
think anyone would ask me to do a voiceover. Oh my.
oh, I think it's already happening.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what this is.
Hello, who's calling? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, it's Klondike
Hello.
5.
Is this Shannon?
Overseas
This is,
collect call for.
I should hope so, because if someone else answered the phone like that, I'd be like, oh, what's going on?
Hello.
Connecting Klondike 5. Hello, it's great to hear your voice.
You too. So, well, I will properly introduce you to Babsie. This is Shannon Torrence.
Hi, Babsie.
Oh, hello, Shannon. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I love her. I'm good. I'm so happy. I'm happier now that I'm on the phone with you.
Aw.
Oh, I'm happy that you're here
Aw.
too.
Oh my gosh.
I'm Michelle's mother.
I've been so I've heard.
Oh, all right.
Oh my gosh,
it's
adorable.
so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you
Oh.
too.
Mhm.
Oh.
So,
Well, Shannon, yes, are you in the business also? Oh,
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah.
Michelle.
I'll
Yes,
just let you
I'm a-
introduce
yes,
yourselves.
I'm a voice actor. Yes, I'm a voice actor as well. That's how Michelle and I
Oh.
know each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, my
Mhm.
Yeah.
goodness. Oh, I'd love
And
to be in that business.
yes,
Yes.
someday you're doing it right now. So,
Someday you're doing it right.
Oh,
several
You're doing it right now.
Yes. So
Oh,
several
I
months
thought it was a commercial.
ago,
Mhm.
Shannon and I were both at our other voiceover friend's house, Kyle, who you know. And
Yes.
Shannon has many talents, and one of her other talents is
Oh.
mediumship.
Tap dancing.
Tap dancing, sorry, that too. And
Oh, tap dancing, I love.
I don't really know how to
no,
tap dance.
that's okay.
Oh,
I'll
what
break it
kind
to
of
her later.
dancing?
No, she's
Well, I was just joking around. I don't really do.
Babsie doesn't do jokes.
I do.
Oh, yes. No, that's the part of my brain that doesn't operate.
Oh, there's a part
Well, you're
that's not
hilarious.
normal.
My joke side is not. I can never tell a joke. My husband always said you give away the punchline first, and then you tell the story. I said, oh. Well, I get
That's
it.
actually hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That might be even
Sorry, I
funnier
didn't mean
than.
to interrupt.
No, that's what
Well,
we do.
yeah. No, it's Shannon's turn.
Yes. Well, I'll let you
Michelle's
know.
turn.
Yes.
Michelle's turn.
when-
I'll stop cracking jokes.
Oh no, please
Oh
don't.
no! Oh, and you have a beautiful voice too.
Oh.
I can see how you're in the business,
Mm-hmm.
or
Thank
why you're in
you.
the business.
Mhm.
Yes,
Oh, thank you.
Well, she's
Oh,
also in the
yes.
business of
yes.
mediumship, and she did impromptu readings of me and Kyle, and all these really cool specifics came out that I thought were interesting. And
oh my
Have you not told
goodness.
Babsie yet?
I did. I told Mom some things
Well, yes.
that she verified.
Just
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
And Michelle, I'm afraid I don't remember what you asked me.
No, I know. I need.
You know.
I'll have Michelle. Yeah, Michelle will have to tell the story again, because I sometimes don't remember. I don't usually remember the details either. So
Oh.
yeah, I'd love her to
Yeah.
tell the story.
Well,
Oh, yes.
one
Okay.
thing came up about Shannon saw that Papa was Italian, and it was interesting how it came up because you said you saw a, a red and white checkered tablecloth,
Yeah.
and that made you think
Mm-hmm.
of Italian restaurants.
Yes.
Which
Oh,
because it's not blatant,
really?
they don't come through as just like, oh, Michelle's grandfather was Italian and blah. You get
Yeah.
imagery, and
You get,
Oh.
Shannon could
yeah.
talk about that. So Shannon said
Yes.
something about Papa being involved with the mob or something. I said, no, I don't think there was anything like
With
that. But then I mentioned it to you,
oh,
and you said what?
yes. Well, my father's father, which would be Michelle's great
We can figure that
grandfather,
out, yeah.
or my grandfather, anyway, paternal grandfather, owned. He came from Cosenza, which, well, anyway, uh,
Sicily.
I go off on tangents. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
he came from Italy as a little boy and as a cobbler. And he grew up with his 3 other brothers, and he opened his own shoe factory. He would have models come to the what is the hotel in New York, the famous, oh my goodness, I'm
Trump
losing
Tower.
things. No, oh my
The
goodness.
Roosevelt
No,
Hotel.
no, the very famous
Best
one with the big
Western.
fountain. No,
I can't
oh,
remember.
for heaven's sake. Well, anyway, the famous hotel it's in all the movies, Breakfast at Tiffany's, everything.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You
People
know
are
what
screaming
I
in the
mean.
audience. I can't remember. Yeah.
I believe it's the
Oh,
Plaza.
well,
Oh,
The plaza.
yes,
is
the
it?
plaza.
The plaza. Okay.
Yay! Thank you, Paul.
Overlooking Central
Oh,
Park.
Ah, yes.
yes,
Phew.
of course, and I know that place so well because my
Eloise.
grandfather. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, Eloise. I'm sorry. Did you know Eloise?
Oh, Eloise? No,
Hmm.
I don't know who Eloise is. But well, I won't
Have to
take up
Google
too much
that.
more time. But all the buyers would have a room at the plaza, and Ferragamo, I. Miller, Chanel, all of these famous shoemakers would have the buyers come to their rooms, and the models would model the shoes. And he had his own factory, the Garofalo Shoe Manufacturing Company. And one day, they wanted to unionize, but my grandfather did not because it wasn't fair to his. Something happened. The employees. It was not fair to his employees. Well, one had, as the story goes, it was the mafia who wanted control over this union. And my grandfather said no. And he put a padlock. He paid all of his employees their salaries, I guess, for a year. And he put a padlock on the fence of the factory, and it was closed forever.
Well, you said that they
So,
approached him with guns, really trying
Oh
to.
my
well,
God.
they did have a gun in his pocket, and he showed it to my grandfather, and he said no. And that's all of the story I know. And,
Wow.
but he said, I will not unionize. and they didn't do anything to him, but he knew that his business was over.
Oh,
So,
terrible.
because they probably would have gone after the family. So, that was the end of his business.
Oh, how sad.
So,
What was your grandfather's name?
yes, Garofalo,
Garofalo.
Garofalo, yes.
What was his
I
first name?
went to a pizza store in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I said Garofalo, and the Italian man said Garofalo.
Like Janine Garofalo. What was?
Yes,
But what was?
exactly.
What was
Yes,
his first name?
Emil, Emil.
Oh, I've
And
never heard that name before. Mhm.
yes, yes. So, but the other brothers were wonderful tailors. They had their own businesses and everything. And then my grandfather just went on and then passed. So, but that was the end of his business. Otherwise, there might have been a
No, that's
Garofalo
probably it.
out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. But I mean, I'm glad he
Yeah.
seemed to have lived a good
Yes.
life apart from that. I hope.
Yes, yes, he did. He did. He remarried, and they had a lovely home and everything.
Oh,
So,
good.
and yes, so yes, the mafia was very active then in the 30s.
Yeah.
So 30s and 40s. So he was out of the business in the 40s. And
Right.
then my father, who had my grandfather, made sure, he said to my father, who was an only child, you will go to college, because my grandfather did not have an education, in those days.
Mhm.
And he said, you will. He was very, very Italian. I could hardly understand him. But so my father went to Xavier Military High School,
Mhm.
and then he went to Fordham
Okay.
University
That's nice.
for ROTC, and then went to war. Okay.
Okay. Great. Here we
Yes.
go. Oh boy, going down these little
Yeah, sorry.
windy
I
paths
took up
there.
too much.
So Shannon, Shannon
Yes.
saw that in her reading and many other things,
Oh,
but
yes.
so Shannon, you want to tell us about your journey to this and going from voiceover to finding that you have these abilities and then really
Sure.
honing in on them.
And Babsie, I loved your story, so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to apologize. I was
Oh.
transfixed.
Oh,
So
but I want to hear about you. Thank you.
you were the cutest.
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
I
no.
am a voice actor, and
Yes.
a few years ago, now it might be 5 years ago, I developed a vocal disorder, so I wasn't able to work anymore. And I was very
Oh, no.
devastated. Yes, I was very devastated. I had two vocal disorders. I had vocal cord dysfunction and muscle tension
Oh.
dysphonia. And so I was
Oh.
devastated. I was in a lot of grief. And my voice
Yes.
coach said to me, she said, you're going to have to relax your nervous system, because a lot of what's going on is tension in the throat. So she said, I want you to do meditation and yoga, and I want you to read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And at the time, I was just like, how's that going to get that's not going to help. But the pandemic hit, so there was nothing else I could do. And I began to do a lot of yoga and meditation and reading spiritual books. And I read a few books by mediums, because it's just something I've always been interested in. But I always thought that you had to be born this way. I thought you had to be born with a special gift, and that only this chosen few were able to do this. Well, what I learned was that we are all mediums. We are all souls. Therefore, we all have the ability to connect with other souls. You just have to know how to do it. So,
Oh my goodness.
thank you. I started to, so I found out that you can actually learn how to, it's as long as you believe in it. I mean, obviously, if you don't believe in it, then, you're not open-minded to it. Or if you're not interested in it. So you're not going to develop the skill.
In it.
Yeah. And we're all souls, right? All of us are made up of energy. And when we die, our souls leave our body, but energy doesn't die. Consciousness doesn't die. So that's how we are able to connect with people on the other side. And the concept is that when you leave your body, we're in a very dense dimension, which we call the 3D world. So we're in these bodies. So we are essentially sort of stuck in our bodies, and we operate at a very slow frequency. So the spirit world operates at a very fast frequency. So I learned, I started to study, I took classes with the Arthur Findlay School, which is in the UK. That's where all the great mediums came out of. And normally I would have gone there, but it was the pandemic, and everyone calls it Hogwarts.
Yes.
It's where you go and you study and you stay in a dorm and you learn the art of it. But I took classes online. I took classes from Monica the medium, who is a celebrity medium. I took classes with local mediums, and I learned, and I did free readings for about 2 years. That's how you learn. You just do. So every day I meditated.
Yes.
I meditated, and I got to know my own energy, and then I began to do readings. And at first, they weren't very fruitful. It's a matter of listening to what you're receiving, which is your subconscious thoughts most of the time. And we don't realize that most of our thoughts are not our own. I mean, not most of our thoughts, sorry. Some of our thoughts are not our own. Some of our thoughts are coming in from the other side, but we don't notice them because we're used to having thousands and thousands of thoughts every day. So we may tune out things that we see in our mind. We might tune out our subconscious thoughts. And so I learned to tune into, what's actually going on inside my mind when I'm interacting with someone. And over time, I learned that I would say, okay, well, why am I seeing a stuffed bear? And someone would say, because when my grandfather died, we made a bear out of his clothing. Or why am I hearing the name, Ricardo? And they say, well, Ricardo was my grandfather's name. And I'm like, all of these things that I would have never tuned into and just not even paid attention to are spirit messages. So the spirit world is always talking to us. We just don't notice it because either we don't believe in it, we're not paying attention, we're not tuning in, or we're not taking the time to be still. And so over time, I began to give readings and gave free readings for a couple years. And then eventually people said, you need to be charging for this. And I was like, I don't know. And then I did. And now that's what I do professionally.
Oh my goodness. That's very interesting.
Well, and then, sometimes I don't give, and then there are times where I'm out in public and it just comes in. So the other day, for example, I was at this shop and all of a sudden I felt spirit coming in, which for me, when I feel spirit, it feels like I call them spirit tingles. So I start to get electricity on my scalp. It feels like really, feels like one of those, those little head massagers with the prongs on them, where you put it on top of your head and it feels like a shower of energy. It's ASMR. So I feel like someone's doing that to me when spirit comes in. I feel like someone has a head massager and they're doing that to my scalp. So I'm in the store and I suddenly am like, there's spirit with me. What do I do? So I go up to the woman at the desk. I said, hey, are you spiritual? Because, if people are Christian, a lot of times it's really against their religion. And so I have to be careful who I tell because they believe, a lot of them, that, you should be going straight to God, and that some people think this is demonic and it's demons trying to trick us and get us further away from God. So I'm careful who I tell it to because I don't want to, offend anybody or make them uncomfortable.
Right.
So I just said, hey.
I understand.
Yeah, I just said, hey, are you spiritual? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, I'm a medium and I'm getting some spirit, something's happening. I'm feeling
Yes.
like a spirit wants to communicate. And I said, is your mom in spirit? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, though. I'm not really getting more than that. And I said, I feel like somebody lost a child. And she said, yes, there is someone
Oh
here that lost
my.
a child. And I said, I'm drawn to that guy over there. And I pointed to one of her coworkers. And she said, yes, that's the guy.
Hmm.
And I said, and I'm hearing
Oh.
Jonathan. Like, I think I hear the name Jonathan. And she said, his name is Johnny.
Hmm.
So immediately I said, he's got a baby. And she said, yeah. So I said, do you think I don't want to upset him or, I don't know if he's open to
Right.
this. But she said, no, I
Yes.
think he'll be happy to hear from you. So I just went up to him and said, your baby's here. And he just wants me to let you know that he's at peace and he's so happy and he's playing with his brother. Like I said, you have another son. And he said, yeah. I said, when your other child is playing, he's playing with him and he wants you to know that he is totally healthy and he can breathe again. And he said, yeah, that makes sense. And
my.
so I gave him a hug. And so sometimes I'll just be in the middle of something and all of a sudden I'm like, oh gosh, someone's here. But
Hmm.
it won't come
my
in.
goodness.
It won't come in like automatically with a message. Sometimes I'm just like, I feel it, and that means tune into my thoughts. So I'm telling you and
Yes.
anyone else who believes in this that sometimes if you start to feel, not everyone will get tingles. I don't know, that's my thing. But if you start to feel like the energy in the room is changing,
Mhm.
that's when it's time to wait a second. Pay attention to my thoughts. What am I seeing in my mind's eye? So like if I said to you, listen, imagine an apple in your mind's eye, right? So as long as you have sight and you have seen an apple before,
Yes.
when you imagine an apple, if you think about it, you can see it, but you're not really seeing it. You know what I mean? It's like you're seeing it like a
Correct.
memory.
Mhm.
That's how I
Yes.
receive my information. So I might see roller skates,
My.
but I don't literally see roller skates like with my eyes. I see it in my head.
Mhm.
Or I might hear
Right.
a name that's like Oscar. And I'll say,
Yeah.
who's Oscar? And they'll say, that's my grandpa. So I always tell people, pay attention because they might be trying to tell you something. And
Yes.
like your family members are trying. Some people say, but I lost my, father or my husband, and I don't feel like I'm getting messages. You're always getting messages.
Hmm.
It's just we have to pay
Really?
attention. We have to listen and pay attention and don't force it. Just allow it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Well, I think my husband has been here
Yes.
because I woke up one morning and went to my computer and my chair was broken. The night before, it was perfect. And whenever my husband, I would say, don't sit in that chair,
Oh.
you're going to break it. And sure enough, he went right through the cane back of one of the chairs. And I said,
That's amazing.
David, I told you for years, do not sit in that chair. Well, my husband tend to forget, and he went through the cane back chair. And I said,
David.
this is just great.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I
Well-
was with Michelle, he came through to me very, very strongly as a strong communicator, so that does not surprise me.
Oh, he is very strong. And, well, Shannon, did he sit in my chair? Because that's what I said. My husband has been here. He sat in the chair and broke it. And it's still broken. David took it downstairs. And he said, what did you do to the chair? I said, David, I didn't do anything.
That's my brother,
I
David. There are
woke up.
two Davids, just to be
Oh,
clear.
yes.
Oh, there are?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, young David. I'll refer to Michelle's brother as young
Okay, that
David.
makes sense.
Oh, yes. Yes. But when my husband was alive and sat in another chair, the cane chair,
Yes,
I
you
said,
said that.
don't sit in that. my parents had that for years. It was an antique from Germany.
Mhm.
And I said, nobody sits in that chair. Well, if you tell him not to do something, he forgets and he sat in it.
Yes,
And
you
I
told us
thought,
that.
David. Oh,
What
yes,
happened
yes.
to your desk chair? Is
So,
it just a pile of Lincoln logs on the floor, or what is broken?
no, it's all crooked and it's broken. And
Wow.
I thought the first thing that came to my mind is Dad was here and sat in that chair.
That sounds
But
I
I
believe
don't
it.
know
right.
if that's true.
I mean,
Because,
I would guess it is. I can't,
Mhm.
I'm not getting anything specific, but I mean,
you're,
I feel like that's completely was he a funny guy? I don't remember.
yes.
Yeah,
Accidentally
even though you don't,
funny, naturally
because,
He
funny.
was
yeah.
naturally funny. Yes. If he tried to be funny, I said, you're not funny, David. But I said, if you just be yourself, you are hilarious.
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
So,
I could see why there was a compatibility there.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
And
both probably,
now
yeah.
he was an army.
Oh,
He
here
came
we
out
go.
of the academy, the USMA
Okay.
academy, and went into the army, of course, an infantry officer, and he was an attorney too. He did the law in French. He spoke fluent French
Wow.
from living in Paris. Well, they lived in Paris for most of his young life, and then his parents sent the three boys to Stony Brook on Long Island, the private boys' school at the time. Then he went to the academy, then to
Okay, what does this have to do
serve.
with a broken chair?
Oh,
Wait a minute.
nothing.
I'm
You know what?
wondering.
I go off on tangents.
And
Well,
they
so do we
weren't
all.
they weren't rich
I
either.
just want to say, like, yeah, like the fact that he went from living in Paris to living in Long Island, like
Mm.
that must have been quite
Oh,
a
yes.
transition.
Yes.
Right. And
Oh, yes.
they were
But
they were very they were not, would you say, poor maybe, because there was a little kitten that my dad kind of adopted named Midnight, and they couldn't really afford to feed that kitten. That was in Paris,
oh,
I
you
think.
mean no? Mana lived on a creamery. Oh, you mean Dad had a kitten in Paris? Oh, I don't know.
Yes, that's the story. But
Then
they
he
couldn't.
told you, honey.
Well, they couldn't afford to feed the kitten, and Mana, my grandmother, was really worried about it, so she did something to cause the kitten to go missing, and then they were out all night
No.
looking for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just clearing up that when you say all these things, they were in Paris and went to these fancy sounding schools, it was very difficult to get by. So I'm just
Yeah.
Yes, well,
yeah.
they were like grandfather was like a diplomat with the fellowship.
Okay.
If you look on the
We don't
internet,
have to
you
get
can read about Wallace Haines and the fellowship. It was a religious organization. They put on the national prayer breakfast, the presidential prayer breakfast.
Okay.
So he was like this envoy to bring Christ to people that didn't believe and things
He
like
would
that.
go to other countries, learn their religions, and see how all the religions could come together.
That's
That
beautiful.
yes. So, but
Yes,
anyway, that's a whole other billion hours of talking. So let's come back to.
yes, it is. It is.
That's
It's
interesting, though.
involved.
Yeah. So let's try
But
to reel it in.
yes.
So
I'll
Shannon,
reel myself in.
how do
Yes.
you know
Do you
when you're getting something incoming to you from spirit, and that it's not something that you're conjuring up. Like you did mention that the
Yeah.
feeling changes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Part of it is intention. I think, like, when I do a mediumship reading, I ask spirit, I say, I'm ready to work now. Let all of the messages that come in be in the highest and best good of the sitter and the highest and best good of the spirit world. So I'm doing an intention first, and I ask them to please help me get rid of my own thoughts and feelings and ego and anxieties and replace them with that of spirit. So that's partly it's an intention, but then that's a very good question, Michelle, because that's what the training involves.
Mm.
So a lot of it is practice. So it's such a subtle change in energy. So the reason why most of us give free readings for like a year or whatever is because you have to sort of get used to what it feels like when you're right and when you're like when it's coming from you and when it's coming from spirit. It can feel like the same thing. So by the way that I've learned to discern, and sometimes I'm wrong, I tell my clients right up front, any good medium is 75% accurate because we're still human. We're still filtering information through a human brain. And so the way that you know that you're right is when someone says, yes, you are correct about that. And over time, you start to feel, yeah, you know what? I had this knowing that that was right. I could, it's not a physical sensation as much as it is like, it's so hard to explain because it's such a subtle thing. It's like, I just start to get comfortable with that feeling. Like I know what it's, that came from spirit. What did that feel like in my body? How did I perceive it? Did it come from my head or my heart? Did it come from my knowing or did it's such a subtle thing. So one of the things that mediums do to practice is that we do something called sitting in the power. And there are guided meditations on YouTube you can try, sitting in the power. And the point of it is you meditate. And it's not an attempt to connect with the spirit world. It's sitting with your own energy so that you get really familiar with what your unique individual energy feels like. So that if you do this every day, so that when another energy moves in, you feel it. And I'm talking the subtlest difference in energy, but like if somebody had a really, I can usually tell, okay, grandmother's here and she has sort of a stern end. And this is just an example, right? So I might say, your grandmother's here and she's not coming through. She's coming through a little distant and a little aloof and a little bit, stern. Or someone will come in and I'll be like, oh, this guy's funny. I can feel that he's funny because I feel light. I can feel his energy. And to me, he feels like a person who's he's joking with me. He's kind of jabbing. He's like making fun of people. So you can kind of get this subtle sense of, that's not me. That's coming from this other guy's personality. It is such a subtle thing that it does take so much practice. And that's how you know it's a very subtle difference in the energy. So the only way that I know that I'm right is that someone validates it. And then I can say, okay, you know what? When that came in, I saw it sort of in the back of I imagine it dropped in subtly instead of like, it wasn't a thought. So, when you're thinking, it's kind of an active action. You're like, okay, I'm trying to think of someone's name. What's that guy's name? So your brain is really working like, what's his name? Steve. But when I say, give me a name, and then I just go blank and a name falls in, it kind of just, I'm like that. It feels like someone just sort of whispered it to me, like Eleanor, or I didn't think it. It sort of just came in. It's really hard to explain, but it is why we do the sitting in the power, is to sort of get used to what is my energy, and then what's different in the energy do I feel? It's like a slight subtle thing, and sometimes I get them mixed up still.
Yeah.
Yes, but as you say,
subtle.
you're only human.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mom, you can practice sitting in your power with 2 different shoes on if you're comfortable with that.
Oh, it's extremely interesting, but I have to tell you, Shannon. Um, well, a long time ago, I had this. I don't know, Michelle. Should
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
tell Shannon that
Now I want to
I
know.
I felt I felt in my head that a name that I hadn't thought of for
Mm,
50 years.
Hmm.
yeah.
And he was my first real love.
Mhm.
And I was sitting at my computer, and his name just came into my mind.
Yes.
You know, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happen to be on Facebook, and I only talk to the people I know. I don't talk, I don't do anything with Facebook except to stay in touch with my own friends that I know.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder if he's still in the United States or is he overseas or what? I typed
Mhm.
in his name and I was going to get up from the chair and leave,
The
and this
broken
message
chair.
came right away. And he said, I I know who you are. And he said, I have been looking for you for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And we've known each other now for 3.5 years.
Hmm.
Oh, again, you mean, that's the other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of times when you have a dream about somebody, not always, but a lot of the
Yes,
time,
uh,
you have a dream
but
about somebody or their name pops in, it's because we're all souls and souls communicate telepathically. So we're picking up on that energy, whether we know it or not. And again,
well,
sometimes you just think of somebody for a reason, but a lot of the time it's because he's thinking about you and you're picking up on that energy.
50 years
well,
later.
I that must have happened because he said there wasn't a day that I didn't think about you, and
Oh,
I look at every brunette that walks by trying to see if I find you.
Hmm.
oh, that is so
And
sweet.
I know. And then and I didn't think of him because of our big David, Michelle's father. And
Yeah.
there's there will be no one else for
Oh,
me except Michelle's father. Even
no.
though we fussed a lot, we fussed over nothing, you know. Well,
Yeah,
you interrupted me, you know, and things, you know,
right.
and of course, I would get mad at him and things like that. But I'm very sorry that I did because he's gone, and I wanted to apologize to him. But
Well,
but
and that's
all
the thing is you
it
don't have
just
to apologize. You don't have to
oh, you
apologize because on the
don't.
spirit world, they first of all, everything is all love. It's all good. Everything that happens here is just an experience. We're just mirrors for each other. We're here to learn. We're not here to be perfect. And when they cross over and they
Oh,
become all knowing, they already know. And even if you think it, I'm sorry, David, he knows, and
I
he is not
know.
holding any kind of a grudge. He, if anything,
Oh,
he looks at that as a fond, that's a human experience. People aren't perfect. We all have our part
oh,
to play. So that's one of the biggest messages that spirit comes through with is, hey, listen, there's they don't want you to hold on to any guilt or shame or burdens. They want you to be free. They want you to, for that matter, if
but
it's right for you, if you wanted to love someone again, which I know you're not going to, he would
um,
be so happy about it.
yes, we're just friends. He
Yes.
lives in
Well,
Kentucky, and
and yeah.
Michelle, I told you,
Mm-hmm.
and we're friends. But we talk a
That's
lot,
lovely.
and but I thought, oh, David, I think of you all the time too.
Yeah.
And then I cry and I feel like I'm being not good to your father, Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
by talking to somebody else. But there's nothing,
No.
that was 50 years ago, and, he got married and I got married, and there isn't but friendship. And
That's beautiful. And you don't, yeah. And that's the thing is that on the other side, it's totally normal to feel like that. Like, somehow you're
oh,
betraying the love of your life. And if you never date again,
yes,
that is fine. You do what works for you. If your heart's with
yes,
David, you do what works for you. However, on the other
yes,
side, there's no marriage. It's a man-made construct. That's something we do here. But on the other side, souls are we're all connected and we're all in the same soul family. And of course, sex doesn't exist. So
oh,
it doesn't matter because we're all one. So people ask me,
yes,
but if I'm married to someone and he dies and then I get married again, who's my husband on the other side? And I say, no one's your husband. It's just their souls that you're connected to.
uh-huh,
And you're
yes,
not going to be separated. There is no separation. So you and David are together in soul and spirit. There is nothing that can come between you. You will be that for
yes,
eternity. And nothing will change
yes.
that. And even if you did get married again, which you don't have to at all, you would, and that
No,
person died, you'd all be a happy family on the other side. It wouldn't be, we don't have individuality like we do here, on the other side. We're
yes.
just all love. We're just these light beings. So nobody's
Oh,
jealous. No, there's no
yes,
competition. It's
y-
there's one big
right.
love. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't
I
it? Yeah.
I I still wear my wedding rings. I said
Oh.
I will never take them off because he loved me so much and so loyal, and he loved his children so much.
Oh.
All he wanted to do was do the best. But sometimes he did.
Right.
His best was a little different than mine because he was a little on the clumsy side. And I said, "What
Yeah.
are you doing with that hammer?" And here I'm
Breaking
telling an
something.
infantry officer,
Oh, here
what
we
to
go.
do. But
Well,
he was a bit clumsy, yes. But anyway, but that is a wonderful to know. But he was the only one. Somebody said to me, "You should be out there." I said, "No, I don't want to be out there." I
oh,
said,
you're
No.
"I
out
am
there.
fine." I
You're
had,
out there in many
I
ways.
said, I had a wonderful person. He
Yeah.
passed, and I am fine by myself. I don't want
Oh,
anyone else.
Yeah, well, you can
That
have
that's beautiful.
companionship and whatever you feel like. But I've been having dreams lately that dad is mad at me, and I was like, oh, maybe I should leave him alone because a lot of times
Dad is what? Mad at you?
mad. Yeah, because I think maybe I am going to him too much and saying, "Oh, please help with this, please help with
No,
that."
no, no. I'll tell you what that is. So if you have a dream like that,
I
okay,
Mhm.
like you're having a dream that your dad is mad at you, that is okay. We dream for there's different reasons we dream. Sometimes, I mean, some people think our soul leaves our body, but and I think it may, but I also know that dreams are our way of processing our feelings and our unresolved trauma and our stresses and our
oh.
anxieties, and it's a way of working out some psychological things. Not just, I think dreams have a much
Mm.
more powerful. In fact, I just interviewed um, a dream work practitioner on my podcast,
Mm.
Magic is Real, which can be found on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And
Yes.
we discussed the
Oh.
spiritual side of dreams. But
Mm.
any
Yes.
soul Souls aren't mad. They're not angry with you.
Okay.
They do not we're angry with each other. We're angry with souls. So what I would do is kind of look at in your own, journaling or whatever, however you process, and think about, kind of get to the root of what that might be about. Like, and a lot of it's going to be symbolic of like, okay, is there some shame underneath? Is there something you feel guilty about that you're projecting into your dreams as dad's mad at me because maybe you think I didn't show up enough, or I wasn't a good daughter, or I could have done a better job at this. But if a soul comes to visit you in a dream for real, a visitation is going to be so loving. So I've had one visitation from my grandfather where, meaning it wasn't just a dream, it was his soul came to me in my dream. Now, how did I know it was him? Because nothing was happening in the dream. I saw my grandfather. He was young. He looked so young. And he was standing there smiling at me. And I went up to him and I put my hands on his face and I said, Grandpa, you look so beautiful. I said, I can see every whisker and pore on your face. It was like 3D realism. And he just smiled at me and hugged me. And I said, oh my God, Grandpa, this is so real. I feel your hug. And he just emanated love. He didn't say a word. And the next day I was puttering around the house or whatever, and I looked at the calendar and it was his birthday. And I had not thought of it because he'd been gone for 11 years. I don't have it on my calendar. So a lot of times they'll come to you when you need them. They'll come to you when it's a birthday or an anniversary, just to be like, hey, honey, I'm okay. But they're never going to come through and be like, you are a bad person. You should feel shame. That goes against everything that is on the other side, which is everything is love and forgiveness, and you are enough. You are a beautiful soul. So you ask they can be with you and be doing their thing on the other side. It's not holding them back for you to talk to them every day if you want to. They're more concerned about them holding you back. So if I have some clients who I think clearly have PTSD from losing their person, and they're having a really hard time moving forward. And they 2 years later, they're still sobbing every day and can't function. And that's when the soul says to me, please help my wife move forward. I do not want her holding on to me. So, for example, I have a client whose husband died, I think it's been 2 years now, and they were together since 14, best friends, like in love with each other, never fought, had this beautiful family, not never fought, but, soulmates. And the only reason she's hanging on is because she has kids and grandkids that she knows she can't leave. But every time we do a reading together, all he does is show me funny things that they did together or things that she's doing today to validate that he's here, because he wants her to focus on the happy times and be like, remember when we did this thing? Remember when we went to the movies and we saw this funny thing? And he'll tell me things like, I'll say to her, did you just take the kids to the library today? And she's like, yes. I'm like, was there a dinosaur there? Yes. It's because he wants her to know, honey, I'm still here. I see everything. He told me about a cake she made for her grandson. He tells me about these day-to-day things that she's doing to let her know, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still totally part of your life. So the only reason they come through is to comfort us and bring us hope. And if it's something negative, it's not your loved one. If it's not making, they'll never say to me, oh, tell them they're going to die in a year, or, tell them they have to do a better job. That's not what they do. They just want you to move forward and be at peace. They want you to move forward. Hold them in your heart, but not stay stuck. So if you're having dreams that your dad is mad, that's about something that you have guilt about, shame about, and your dad is just the representation, and it's a dream projection that's it's a call for you to look at what is happening subconsciously that's still stuck. So it might be a block you have. It's maybe a feeling of not enoughness. It's, I should have been there more. I wish I had been with my dad when he passed, or whatever the thing is. And he's not really mad at you. It's you feeling some kind of guilt
Yeah.
from the past that you just have to work on self-forgiveness and self-love.
That makes sense. Yeah. So,
Well,
I
you were with Dad for his last breath.
yes, I know
Yeah.
that, but leading up to that,
Yes.
and I've written about it and things like I do feel guilty for being a
What?
jerk for most of our
You
time
were
together.
not.
Yeah, I was, but not
Please.
purposely. I was
I
just
mean, Michelle.
uncomfortable as myself, and that's how it came out. But yeah,
And
well, that's good because
that's why you're having that dream, because
yeah.
it's actually a call to self-forgiveness, because
Mhm.
your dad loves you unconditionally. There is not one part of him that is like, wow, she could have been nicer to me. Or he's like, she was a kid,
No.
she's like, that's the relationship between a father and a daughter. That's what happens. We sometimes butt heads, or sometimes she's going through a hard time and lashing out at the people she loves the most because that's who she feels the safest lashing out around, because he's going to be there forever. So
Yeah.
he is not mad at you. This is you thinking, I could have been a better daughter. I could have shown up more. I could have checked in more. I could have. And the message from Spirit is always, for you have to let that go. Yeah, I don't want you carrying that around. I love you unconditionally, and there is no need for you to carry that burden. That's just part of you growing.
Oh,
That's your
good.
life
Yes.
path. Yeah.
Yay.
But Michelle, you and Dad were very close.
We understood each other, and then you and
Yes,
David kind
and
of understood each other more.
no,
Yeah.
that makes me mad.
Oh,
And
too bad.
Michelle gets mad at me very easily. You have the wrong spirit, honey.
Oh, now you're an
Your
expert on
father
spirit.
adores you.
Yes.
Your father adored you, and so do I. But but I get on your nerves.
Yeah,
think.
I think that goes both ways, buddy.
And that's unconditional
that's
love,
not-
and that's real.
Yes, but
That's the real stuff.
yes,
Like,
but
Yeah.
I adore you.
Yeah,
Oh, I
me
adore you and
Yeah.
your brother.
Good.
And yes. Oh
Well,
gosh.
well, back to Shannon. This was really very
Yes. Oh,
interesting.
Shannon is so eloquent.
Oh,
It's
you're so
oh,
sweet.
the way you speak and knowing. But Shannon, excuse me, Michelle, a minute.
Go for it.
Shannon, was that my husband in the chair that night?
Let me, you know what? I'm not getting an answer one way or the other, but my feeling is absolutely, but just based on the way that he is and his sort of sense of humor, I don't have any, he's not showing me anything specific. I wouldn't know how to validate it for sure unless he had showed me a chair in advance and I could say, what is this about a broken chair? And you'd say, that's the broken, and then you would put it together. And it's hard for me to do it in reverse because I would have to have him have showed me. So here's another thing. Before I do a reading, I always tell people, don't tell, and it's okay that you did, but I always tell people, don't tell me anything, because that way, if anything comes through, I'll know I didn't make it up.
Yeah.
So, but he might not have even shown me a chair. Like when I read when I gave Michelle a reading, do you remember anything, Michelle, about what I don't really remember what he said to you or what came through.
Well, one of the funny things was he was showing you one of those little squishy candy peanuts, those little peanut candies. And as soon as you said that, you're like, I don't know what this means, this little squishy peanut. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my kitty. That's my Peanut.
Peanut is your
It
cat.
was to represent Peanut, because and you said that the message was you don't have to worry about him. Like, he's fine. He's in good health. You don't have to worry about him, because I was worried. There was a health issue with Peanut. I was worried about his teeth, and I was like, swapping out different vets and not sure what to do. So I think that was reassurance from Dad, like showing the little
Yes.
candy peanut.
Oh,
Because
that's weird.
it's the
I've
way
never
the
seen
way
a
they show
squishy
me things
peanut.
is, like they'll show me a symbol of a peanut. And so for me, it just came through. Sometimes they'll exaggerate it so that to make sure I say it. So for me, instead of just seeing a regular peanut, he showed me a big squishy peanut so that it's so that I feel like it comes to my attention in a stronger way.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll be like, whoa, there's a huge, I don't know, whatever it is. And it's like they're exaggerating it so that they make sure that I'm getting the message. So
Yeah.
for me, it came through as, why am I seeing a peanut?
I
And for you, it was like,
see.
because you had said that cat had been on your mind. I
Yeah.
think, if I'm not mistaken, like that had been a big thing that was on your mind. And so he's kind of saying, no. And he's, let's talk about Peanut. He's okay. He or she, I don't know.
He's
But,
a little boy.
Yes.
And I also think it's like, the feeling that you get initially without thinking. So, Mom, when you saw your chair broken, you immediately thought, oh, Dad sat in it. Then I think you can go with your
yes,
first feeling. Is
Yes.
that right?
yes,
I do
that is
believe
100% right.
I do believe that my husband sat in that chair because when I went to bed, before I went to bed, I was in that chair. There was no indication of it being broken, nothing. It was perfect. When I got up the next morning, I sat in it, and it was all tilted.
I'm just
When
surprised
I
that he
sat
broke
in
it
it,
quietly.
So,
Although
yeah,
well,
you snore like a lawnmower, so you probably didn't hear all the commotion.
oh,
Yes.
oh,
well,
well,
too, that's something people say is like, how do I know when it's a sign from spirit? And my answer is, because you know. Because sometimes a feather is just a feather. And sometimes you see a feather and you're like, I know that's David.
Yeah.
Because that knowing that we all have, that's what I'm doing. We're tapping into our intuition and trust. It's about trusting your intuition. So first thing that comes to your mind, right? So it's not, if you looked at that chair and thought, David, you broke that chair, trust that. That's you might find a broken chair somewhere else and it wouldn't mean anything to you. But you knew because David was with you in that moment, allowing you to receive his energy and say, I know that's you. And so that's all you need to know. It's not more complicated than that. We make it more complicated than it really needs to be.
I really believe he was in that chair during the night, and I said to young David, I said, David, your father was in my room last night. And David said, well, what happened? What did he do? And I said, my chair is so broken. And he said, that's Dad. And, David believes in this very, very much. His girlfriend even saw, and she feels that she has certain abilities as you do. She got up during the night and she said she saw a shadow of a large man going down the stairs.
There you go.
And she said, I think that was your husband. And I said, oh, was he really here? And, I had a terrible time. I had extreme, my doctor said, you suffered extreme grief. I didn't have a breakdown, but I could not go out of the house for 6 months. My body lost all its energy, no stamina, nothing. And he said, if anybody is going to pull out of it, I put my trust in you. And he talked to me a little bit, but I said, oh, David, I can't be without you. And then I then as the time went on, I got better, but also with some medication
Yeah, of
too.
course. There's a pill for that.
Uh,
That
well,
comes up.
That's a very
no, but I
Yes.
believe that
yeah.
I needed a lot of rest because he said when your muscles are so tense
Mm-hmm.
for so long, they give out, and
Yes.
that's what your physical being happened.
Right. Well,
But
we
That's
need.
so normal.
eventually,
That's what yeah, that's grief. I mean, it never goes away. You just learn to live alongside it,
no,
and it becomes more manageable.
I know
Did
Yeah.
I
somebody
can
have a
try.
parrot? You guys I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but did somebody have
No,
a
no,
green
go ahead,
parrot?
Sharon.
Mom.
Did somebody have a green parrot or something? Like I thought I saw a parrot.
Yes, Mom.
Uh,
Ginger.
yeah, not green though, but a
Okay, it could be a
parakeet.
symbol. A parakeet. That is parakeets
Yes.
are in my mind green, I think. I see a green, it looks like a pet bird, and
One,
whose was that?
one was ginger, was yellow, and Peppy was blue.
Well, together
Okay,
they
I
make
just saw
green.
parrot. Together
Blue
they
and yellow makes green.
the feeling that David just gave me was that he's in spirit with the bird, or birds, if there were two, but he just showed me a parrot on his shoulder.
Hmm.
So I just wondered if that
Really?
belonged to somebody.
Hmm.
Yes.
Ooh,
Just
I
to say
don't
I'm with,
know.
are those birds in the spirit world?
Yes. Yes.
They would have died by now, right?
Yes.
You mean the parakeets that I
Uh-huh.
have?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They don't live very long. Yes.
And yeah, he's
Yes.
just letting you know that he's with the parakeets on the other side. That he has them yes. He showed me a parrot sitting on his shoulder, and I was like, "Is that you?" He must have had a bird, or somebody had birds, because that's what he's showing
I
me.
did.
That's cute.
Yes, my
Got it.
brother and I each had a parakeet.
Mm.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That's what.
And it's funny that you
Yeah.
brought up feathers before, because when I was visiting Mom for the first time in 7 years for Christmas, I got in the car and this little teeny tiny white feather just poofed into the air, and we both, Mom said, "Oh, it's Dad," and I thought it at the same
Yep.
time.
There you go. That's and that's the thing. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's so yeah. He just a lot of also know that for people that don't know, pets are souls too. Obviously, they're animals. They're living beings. Plants have souls. So a lot of times, yes, pets do come through to me as well. Sometimes they'll tell me, like for example, I did a reading for a woman, and I said, "I'm seeing a Great Dane." She said, "I had a Great Dane." And I'm like, "Is she?" I said, is she buried in your backyard in a garden? And then there's like her name in it, in the flowers?" And she said, "Yeah, it says W." What her name was, I don't remember. And she said, we planted flowers in the shape of a W where she's buried. And then I said, "Who's Stonewall Jackson?" She said, "That's her best dog friend. Our friends have a dog named Stonewall Jackson." I was like, that is too specific.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
if you
that's
don't
good.
believe, it's like, so for anyone that doesn't believe, that's okay. I don't care if, it's your path and your business, and I respect that, because I used to be also a sort of atheist, agnostic myself, but I'm like, that for me was enough proof that animals fully communicate. People say, "Well, what if my grandmother spoke Spanish? How can you understand her?" Well, they're not speaking the language to me. They're showing me images. We're communicating telepathically. So I don't care if you're a dog, a bird, a plant, or anything else. They're just giving me feelings and understanding of the animal. The animals saying things to me like, "Oh, I had a." Sometimes they'll tell me like, "Oh, I had a." My hips were just deteriorating, so my owner had to carry me around, or like they'll show me memories, or like my favorite thing was this little ball that I used to chase around that was like a red ball, and they'll say, "Yep, that was her thing," So they can show me images just the way that David can. They can show me. There's no limit to communication.
Yeah.
Oh my
that's cool.
goodness! Oh, I wonder what you would see for me.
Well, you're gonna have to book a reading with Shannon.
No, you.
because
I will sit with that. I would be happy to do that as a gift to you. So that is no problem, because I would love to see what comes through for you.
So sweet. Oh,
We will do that.
Goodness.
We will absolutely do
Oh,
that.
Well,
oh,
Shannon,
but
tell us how
Shannon,
everyone
I
else and everyone can book a reading with
Thank you.
you.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes,
oh,
actually,
you're
I have a
amazing.
website, but I'm getting rid of the website because all of my business is word of mouth anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
um, all you have to do is email me at magicisrealshannon@gmail.com, and you can
Yeah.
use code Babsie. How do we spell Babsy?
Yeah, B A
Use
B
code
Uh,
S I
Babsie.
E.
Oh, SI.
yes.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, code Babsie, Babsie, and I will give you, and you can just, I'll give you all the details and my price and everything. And if you book using that
Oh,
code, I will give you $30 off of your reading.
That's so nice.
oh, that's
And yeah, and
so
Shannon is the real
sweet.
deal. We I didn't get into
I,
all of the details from when
yes.
Shannon and I were
Uh,
together, and also Kyle got so many super specifics also because Kyle isn't into this. So he
Yes.
was really getting like boom, one
oh,
after the other.
I,
Also.
It's funny
yes,
because he's one of my best friends, and
Yeah.
he is so supportive, and I love
yes.
him because
Mhm.
he himself is pretty much an atheist, but he is like, what can I do to support you in this business? He's
Mhm.
so loving, and so the first
Mhm.
thing I said to him, because he had lost his mom, was, why am I seeing clowns? I'm seeing
Oh,
lots of like pictures of clowns, and he's like, I don't know.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm seeing a lot of like
oh,
paintings of clowns, and he's like, well, I mean, my mom was really into clowns. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, what are you
oh,
talking about? And he's like,
oh.
and it was because what his mom showed me that because it's something I would never know. That
Yeah.
he's like, and I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, like she collected like clowns. I'm like, well, that's the proof right there.
Oh my
So that's
goodness.
it was incredible, and
Yeah.
I love that guy
It
so much. He's one of my
Mhm.
best
oh it
friends.
is. Now I
Oh no.
believed totally in you and
No,
others that actually, they actually say things to people, and they said, how could you know
I
that?
know.
Mhm.
And I've watched them, and I'm Catholic, but I'm not a good Catholic. I mean, I don't go to I don't go to church, but I
But I
absolutely,
sin a lot.
do say, oh God, help me through this. Big David, please help me do this. And
Mhm.
in the Catholic religion, you're not supposed to ask the spirit that has passed
Right.
to help you,
Right.
but I ask him
You,
all the time, help
Rebellious
I
Michelle,
believe
help
you
Catholic.
can.
David. So there are some people that are, um, they believe things about God, but then again, like me, I believe in you
Mhm.
totally
Me too.
because I think my husband broke that chair.
Yes.
I know he did.
And
I know he did.
he
I know he
did.
But
did.
Yes,
anyway,
and he'll break many
oh,
more things
Shannon,
to
you're
come.
just
May he break
beautiful.
many more chairs. Yes,
Yes.
yes. And then, Michelle, you can put me in touch with Babsy so that I'll find a time for
Okay.
us to do a Zoom, or if, assuming
Wow.
Babsy can. Oh, might not be. We might be able to do phone because I don't know if Babsy, you're a Zoom person,
Well,
but
Oh
oh,
boy.
oh, well,
Yeah.
my computer is down.
Okay.
Someone broke
We don't have
through
to
the
get into that.
David
firewall.
did.
Oh,
Yes,
oh,
Dad broke.
sorry, sorry.
Let's just blame Dad for
Yes.
everything that goes wrong now.
Oh no, no, no!
Or
I don't
breaks.
believe Dad did this.
No,
I'm
We
we're
kidding.
were
kidding.
No,
three
this was all you.
scammers.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
I don't have a computer now.
we need to
Oh,
start wrapping up our
Well,
conversation for now, and you
well,
go fix your chair. And Shannon, please tell us about your YouTube channels also, which I
oh,
watch.
thank you,
And Mom, I have
thank
to
you.
teach you how to watch YouTube.
Yes.
yes, thank you.
So I have a podcast called Magic is Real, and I interview near-death experiencers who share their stories of dying and coming back. And I also interview other types of spiritual
Yes.
people as well from time to time, a dream work practitioner, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So it is on YouTube. You can just look at Magic is Real podcast, Shannon Torrence, and it will come up. And then
Oh.
in the description on YouTube, it will give you a link to the audio only version. So you can look it up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you just want to listen there, that's great too. And if you do like it, it would be so wonderful, everybody, if you could subscribe and like and leave comments. It helps so much, and it's a way to support the podcast for free. But more importantly, my mission for the podcast is to bring hope and inspiration to those who are, to all humans, but especially those who are in grief, who have a fear of dying, who don't know what comes next. And I find these interviews to be so comforting to hear that this is not all there is. This is just Earth School. We're here to learn, for our soul to grow, and that everything that's happening, good or bad, painful or beautiful and joyful, it's all part of the soul's journey to learn what it needs to learn. So I really hope that you'll enjoy the podcast and find comfort and peace in listening to these stories.
Yeah, for sure. And
You're
it gives you
just wonderful. I hope
Yes.
my phone is not too old.
You can
But
at least
Michelle,
talk.
you'll help me, and
Oh.
Shannon.
Yes, Michelle will help you.
I'll
are
help you.
absolutely wonderful. Oh, I
So
had
are
no
you, Babs?
idea.
Well, thank you,
Oh, it
Shannon.
was-
And I'll list your links and info also in the description of the podcast
Thank
too.
you. And I can't wait.
And,
I'll
yeah.
be happy to share this podcast with
Thank you.
everyone. So just you send me the info, and Babsie alone can host her own show, but it was so nice to join you for conversations about my unusual abilities.
Yes.
It is
Very
it's a
interesting.
wonderful ability. It is out of this world. That's
Yes.
It's just beautiful. Just
Well,
beautiful.
thank you.
Shannon, I'm so happy to meet you.
Me too. I love you both. You're sending everyone a
love
big
you
hug and
too.
lots of love.
Thank you,
Talk to you
Shannon.
soon.
We love
It's my
you.
pleasure.
Bye, Shannon.
Bye.
Now.
Talk to you soon.
Yes,
Bye.
bye. Bye, Shannon.
Bye.
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 Yes. And
Yes.
Mom, do you want
And-
to do the outro like you're so good at doing? Say thank you for listening to
Yeah, I forgot what the name of it is.
On the Line with. I hope you remember your name.
Yes. No,
Who am
you do it. You do it.
Just say
You're
it.
so good.
Ugh.
You're so good.
Say thank you for
well,
listening.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast today. It opened so many beautiful things with Shannon as our guest and Michelle as our host. And we look forward to you on another episode. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot the name.
On the Line with Babsie.
Oh, it's On the Line with Babsie.
Very
and we
good.
look forward to seeing you on the radio. Or
That makes no sense. Okay. All right. Thank you.
okay,
Okay. Bye. Let's just say bye 10 times so we can wrap this up.
Oh,
Goodbye.
okay, honey.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And goodbye to
Bye.
Paul and Paula. And we will be back.
Oh, goodbye, Paul and Paula. I didn't know they were still there. Okay.
We're always
All right,
here.
bye.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Paul and Paula, it was wonderful to meet you.
Yes.
Wonderful to
Oh,
meet you
I
too,
love-
and thank you for such lively conversation.
Well, that's sweet,
Indeed.
but I'm not sure I add that much. But anyway, it's
All right.
wonderful.
You're very
Oh,
cute
that
when
was
you're
a
humble.
wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm just a mother.
Yes, you
But
are. Okay.
well, Michelle.
Yes.
We can't talk now.
Oh yeah, I know. I'll tell you what. I'll go over here, and then you guys can talk again.
Oh no.
Oh no!
We're ending the podcast. Like,
stay well.
okay.
and everyone stay
Yes.
well and happy and safe in this world we have today.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
Yes. Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye,
Yes.
Babsie.
Bye.
Bye.
Michelle?
No, I really thought you hung up.
Oh, I
Hang
did too.
up.
But what are you doing in Hawaii? I mean, what? Why does it come up Hawaii? Because you know what? A lot of scammers call me, and I wasn't going to answer.
We're
I
not
was
in
looking for
Hawaii.
California.
This
Yes,
is
I know
a
you're not.
technology beyond your realm.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes.